Hello, I'm Jahamas1 and today I'll be showing you guys my list of my top 5 favorite kill lane supports. Now before I begin, I'd like to clarify what makes a kill lane support and what I'm talking about exactly. Now, more traditional supports that may be considered a kill lane support are supports such as Leona, Zyra, Blitz, Thresh, and etc. Champions who don't offer much more other than to, well, kill enemies or get their ADC fed at the very least. And well, the champions that I have included in my list aren't considered supports at all. They're more of champions that are actually item dependent and that most people would never consider playing as supports. But my goal here is to try and snowball either my ADC or myself as much as possible in bot lane and just make it GG. Of course, these items, as I said, they are item dependent. I mean, these champions are item dependent, and yeah, you really have to snowball if you want this to be effective at all. So on these champions here in my list, what I generally build on them is either a Doran's ring or a Doran's blade, whichever one is more helpful to the champion, and then either some pots or a ward. It's up to you. That is, if you can afford those. And then after that, I sometimes get a sight stone. It's up to you whether you do or not. Of course, that is what the support's supposed to do, is get sight stone, put those wards down, and have that map control and map vision. One final thing to note for now is that I have not actually tried every single champion as this sort of so-called kill lane support. Just of the champions that I have tried, these are my top 5 favorite. Starting off at number 5, we have Nidalee. Nidalee is probably one of the more common kill lane supports or non-traditional supports that you may see. Some people may even consider her a real support, but I don't. I think she's much better with items. However, what she does bring to a fight or to a team is her attack speed buff. As you can see right here, I got this from the League of Legends wiki, and it can augment one's attack speed up to 60% at level 5, which is pretty huge. Compare that to Nunu's, which goes up to 45%, but well, that affects him and another target, and it also gives them a movement speed buff. Then we could also compare it to Warwick. He also has an AoE attack speed buff that goes up to 80%. That's a pretty big, very large AoE. So in this clip here, I almost got Frank first blood, but somebody else got the first blood in another lane. At least it was my team. So some really good laning partners with Nidalee are champions such as Corki and Ezreal. Anyone who has a really strong early game, really good harass. Caitlyn and Graves is probably also make good partners. Oh yeah, by the way, of course, the runes and masteries that I'm running on Nidalee are full AP. You know, 21-9, or you could go 21-09 if you want more sustain, better mana regen. Perhaps some CDR on the summoner spells. But yeah, I'm going like, I think magic, or I mean what do you call it? Yeah, magic penetration reds, armor yellows, AP quints, and AP per level blues. Just pretty common AP runes. So for each one of these champions, I'll show either 1 or 2 games, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I got a needlessly large rod just cause I could. I got so fed. Tier is good to build on Nidalee, and Morellonomicon is good to build. It's good to build on any AP support, really, because it's pretty cheap. It's all for the CDR, some sustain, some mana regen as in sustain, and of course some AP. Oh yeah, the other way that Nidalee can really contribute to a team is through her traps. She is not limited to the number of traps she can place on the map at any given time, so you can just spam them as much as you want. And late game, as you saw from that one photo I showed you guys, her traps do reduce the enemy's armor and magic resistances by a large amount. I think it was like 45%, so late game that can be a pretty big factor. At number 4, I chose Teemo. Teemo is just a very easy to use yet very powerful champion, and his blind, well, it can be pretty devastating on an ADC. A blind, it will make an individual's auto attacks useless. It will make them just not hit any auto attacks. And Teemo, he has a lot of harass just with his autos, with his E skill, which, well, does a lot of damage if you build him AP. Honestly, don't quite know why people build him AD at all. Perhaps for him to kite people even better, but he has so much more potential being full AP. In this clip right here, I nearly got a triple kill, but Zach's passive is, it's there, and I couldn't quite finish him off in time. Now, just as Nidalee, I'm running full AP, Runes and Masteries. You don't really need any mana regen on Teemo, especially with Doran's Ring. But then again, you're not really getting any last hits, so you're not getting that benefit of the extra mana regen from the passive of Doran's Rings. Now, in the beginning of this fight, I had actually gotten myself really fed, so I just went straight ahead and bought another needlessly large rod. And what did I do? Started roaming and destroyed this Zed. Yeah, that guy couldn't 1v2. Of course not, I was fed. And eventually I stopped getting myself fed and actually got Draven fed. This Draven was pretty good. He's just some random and normals that I got to support for. Another thing that makes Teemo a pretty good support is his ultimate, or his mushrooms. He gets, mushrooms every so often. He can hold up to 3 mushrooms, but the amount of mushrooms that he can have on the map at any given time are unlimited. However, they do expire if after 10 seconds, or if somebody walks on them, or any enemy walks on them. Pink wards and oracles can also, they're really good items to counter or clear out mushrooms. An enemy, Teemo's mushrooms. This Zac here is clearly the best Zac we have seen in quite some time. Jumping in and initiating against 3 people. Yes. So just like all the other kill lane supports, my goal is to snowball as hard as I can. So I try to harass as much as I can to zone the enemy and try to get their ADC, prevent their ADC from getting any CS and get mine all the CS he could ever want or need. And right here I get focused down, but at this point my Draven was fed and, well, he was able to carry us with his insane damage. Just keep in mind that it's important to place as many shrooms as you can, as often as you can around the map as Teemo. Up next, at number 3, we have Annie. Annie brings a 1.75 second stun every 5th spell, and this can be really powerful, especially if you just kind of wait in the bush, use your E to get those stacks on your passive and stun. Especially if your ADC follows up with some more harass, and, well, you two have very good poke. Right here, we probably could have killed Rengar, but I panicked and forgot to use my Q spell on him. I'm still sort of getting used to quick casting or smart casting, whatever it's called, as I started using it when I got Lee Sin. And Frank had a nice finish with his ult right there. Yeah, there's not too much to say about Annie really. All you have to do with her is use your Q and W on the enemy to harass them down, and then, you know, let your ADC know when your stun is ready, so perhaps they can follow up with some more damage. I take Ignite in lane just for the greater kill potential. Here I made both of them pop a summoner spell or two. Wasn't quite sure, yet Frank got a very lucky kill, just barely finishing off Quinn despite him aiming for Thresh only. Having Tibbers also allows you to push down towers very easily, and it'll even let you tower dive, especially if there's a Thresh like this that wants to stick around and pull your bare Tibbers in. Yeah. When I play any bot lane, I level up my W first, simply because that's the its base damage will be higher, and it's AoE, so I could possibly hit, you know, more than one target with it. So yeah, that's why I level up first. Yeah, we had a Zillion mid this game. He didn't do so well, but he was alright. Yeah, that was Zillion free to play week, so probably some guy just randomly trying him out. I built 2 Cage's Lucky Picks this game, which is a good item to build, but if you build 2 of them, the gold per 5 passive will not stack, which is actually a really bad idea. But I don't know, I didn't really think about it. But here I come just for the cleanup. Turned out to be a 1 for 2. Could have gone a little bit better, but it's alright. At this point, I think me and Frank, the ADC, were fed, so that can be pretty fun. And I think during this game, actually, when Frank had gone back to base, I had actually stayed in lane just to get some more CS and defend the tower. Yeah, I have to work on my flash initiates. I'm not that great at that. Also have to work on controlling my AI ally, you know, my bare Tibbers and other things such as Yorick's clone thing, or whoever he makes a clone of, whatever you call that. Yeah. And here's a random 2 versus 4 gank. Didn't go so well. Anyways, this game, it was, well, yeah, I was fed and I did a ton of damage for a support. I did not quite get any kills right here. However, I did, you know, scare their whole team off, essentially. I mean, pretty much, and we were able to get this tower. You know, I think it would be a pretty bad idea to actually play as one of these supports in ranked. I mean, it'd still be important just to have map vision and good objective control, which is kind of it's a big part of the support's responsibility. Here, me and Zillion each get a double kill. Apparently I go down. As I am a threat to them, they have to focus me, the support, which is never a good thing if you have to do. However, sometimes it's good to focus down a support like Zyra or Sona before they can even ult, or try to make them to ult just to save their own life without benefiting the team. Now here they actually do focus the ADC. However, I do a ton of damage to them, and Kale comes for the cleanup, take all the credit. It's all good. I'm the support after all. Here they had surrendered, so you know, gotta flash in and use all my skills at the last second. For number 2, I chose Heimerdinger, believe it or not. Before I start talking about him, I'd like to talk about this right here. I encountered this glitch where I actually placed my turret, and as you can see, its projectiles are flying out of the bush, yet my turret is invisible. So Sona walks up right here, and I have vision on her clearly, so my turret is there. And what do? I take advantage of this glitch, and of course, I get my ADC a kill. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Heimerdinger's skill, Concussion Grenade, actually works as an AoE blind, and if you hit it dead on center, which is pretty hard to hit on a champion, it can stun them for 1.5 seconds. So this skill, it can be pretty difficult to land, but if the enemies are moving in an obvious direction, well then, yeah, it's easy to hit them. And if you are closer to your enemy, it's also easier to hit them with your concussion grenade. The other thing that makes Heimerdinger a really powerful support is his turrets. Of course, I'm building AP on them, so my turrets do a lot of damage. And let's say if somebody goes to gank your lane, you just put your turrets down on the ground, and the enemies would have to walk past your turrets, taking a lot of damage. To top that off, you can ult, it'll slow them down, your turrets will deal more damage and be buffed and all that good stuff. Now, similar to Zyra, Heimerdinger's, one of Heimerdinger's skills will naturally give him cooldown reduction, which is a pretty neat thing to have. Therefore, he can have he can get max CDR without actually having to build as much CDR. One other thing to note about Heimerdinger's concussion grenade is that it can actually be used to face check a bush, just as Lux's E skill can. Her little AoE long range skill, you know. Now right here I just threw my turrets over the bush, surprised the enemies, you know, initiated on 4 enemies right there, and barely took out Sona with an auto attack and made Lucian flash. Yeah, Lucian's not that great right there, and the enemies seem to randomly be here in the bush. It's not a very good idea to tower dive a Heimerdinger. Not only does he have the tower to defend him, but also his turrets. Oh, and his turrets of course can also be used as a ward, but I prefer to use them offensively and keep my turrets in lane in the bottom bushes rather than in the river. One other thing that I forgot to mention is Heimerdinger's passive. Heimerdinger's passive gives himself and everyone around him an increased HP 5 or health regen. Now this is actually a lot better than it may sound. And finally, at number 1, I chose Lee Sin. Now, when I first bought Lee Sin, you know, I jungled a few times with him. He was really fun to play champ. But after that, I sort of just randomly tried out support with him, and that turned out to be very fun. As you can see right here, I got first blood and barely saved my ADC Frank. Me and Frank were gonna buy a red pot at level 1, but I kind of forgot, as it's such a habit for me to buy Doran's Blade level 1 on Heimerdinger. I mean, not on Heimerdinger, on Lee Sin. One other thing to note is Lee Sin has been the only AD champion I have chosen for this top 5 list. I honestly just now noticed that and didn't really think about it till now. Splits barely pulled Frank, and we weren't able to focus down Vi, and well, things really turned for the worst for us. However, I was able to finish off Vi at least and escape with my life, so therefore the trade was even despite a gank. So what does Lee Sin bring to the team? Well, he brings a lot of mobility for himself. He brings a shield, a single target shield for an ally and himself, and he also has an AoE attack speed and movement speed slow. You can also use his ultimate to kick enemies into your allies for a free kill. You know, feeding your allies is always good, as it is the support's job, and perhaps you could say the jungler's job too, but it depends on the team comp and the jungler and all that. I just barely did not have enough energy to finish off that Master Yi. And now this is actually game number 2 that I'm going to be showing you guys. I wasn't going to show you guys this, but well, I want to talk a bit more about Lee Sin, and these games are pretty quick, or the parts of the games that I show you. And yeah, this game is clearly, you know, Lee Sin Sona, not exactly meta. Even less of a meta than my Lee Sin support, as Sona flashes into auto me but gives Twitch the the double kill. It's probably a bad idea. Fed Sona is not as threatening as a Fed Twitch, that's for sure. So what do I level up first on Lee Sin? I level up my Q first purely because that does a lot of damage. And it's good for initiating a fight bot lane, or initiating some harass at least. It's good for harassing, yeah. You can just Q to them, auto them, then use your W to jump to a minion or your teammate, and that is a good trade. Most of the time, at least. Someone who might counter Lee Sin would be someone like Alistar, who, well, yeah, can knock you into the tower pretty easily if you're too close to it. Of these 5 champions, I would say Lee Sin is actually the champion that Sightstone is a must-have item. In fact, I like to rush Sightstone when I play Lee Sin. The reason that I do this is because Sightstone will give me a bit of HP and tankiness, but more importantly, it'll give me those wards that I can ward jump to whenever I please. Now, if you, oh yeah, by the way, Lee Sin is, when I picked him up, sorry I was supporting with him, this is the first time that I started using smart casting. I had a lot of fun doing so. And I found that ward jumping is kind of like a flash, but, you know, it with a really low cooldown. It's like a 8-second cooldown, something like that. Probably shorter cooldown the higher level it is. I don't know what these guys are doing. We were already fed, so they couldn't really trade us. However, this Lee Sin nearly got me, but not quite. And Sona flashed for me again, but didn't get me this time. And I believe gave Frank another double kill. Yet another double. Maybe not a double kill, but 2 kills. Still really good. Yeah, the reason that Lee Sin is number 1 is because he is a lot of fun. Just with the Sightstone, his W, jumping everywhere. Honestly, I'd say build Sightstone on Lee Sin no matter what you're doing, so whether it's support or jungle. Then again, I don't really jungle Lee Sin that often, almost never. And they caught me off there with that Pantheon global ult. So I was thinking about making some other top 5 support videos where I'd be featuring like a certain category of supports that I choose. I don't know what I was doing. I should have flashed away the other way, but I was ignited and couldn't really do much there. But yeah, I really made a mistake that last fight. Usually it's really good for Pantheon to ult in on Baron when the team is taking Baron. However, he was not able to stun anyone right away and he just got locked down and instantly bursted. I brought that Lee Sin in the middle of our team, but no one really focused on him. At least I was able to survive, and I believe we aced them. Yep, we aced them as we go on to finish the game. Or they surrender. That works too. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.